Hey everybody, I'm Brandon and this is Phil from Zaid Comics, the artist and writer and co-creators on the upcoming graphic novel Magic Cop, set to launch on Indiegogo in August of 2019, and the two best looking brothers in all of comics. And today we're here doing another Magic Cop update for Monday. We thought it would be really interesting to talk about the concept and where we kind of came up with the idea and chose the comic book direction for the whole concept of the Magic Cop storyline. In the first news, though, we started doing the pages for Magic Cop Drop Dead Legs, which is the very large number of page graphic novel that's going to be coming out, the one that we've always been talking about. So if you want to keep up with that, go to zaidcomics.com and subscribe to the newsletter, and you'll be able to see pages and covers and things as they get colored. A lot of cool insider stuff that you don't get to see on this YouTube channel or on our Twitters or anything like that. So make sure you guys subscribe to the newsletter, and you also get to read the 12-page preview issue, which will help you dive into the world a little bit and see what a couple of the main characters are all about before you actually get into the first episode. So, Magic Cop, I guess it's kind of a lot of things that we do always start off as a joke.
Literally everything we've done, like even comics like the Silhouette.
Right.
The first comic was a joke, and Magic Cop just started as a name that you thought of arcade game was called, and you just picked it out of your head and threw it out there, and then you're like, wow, this would be an awesome arcade game title, and then it just spun out of that, having it like being a side-scrolling beat 'em up like Bad Dudes or Double Dragon, something like that.
Right.
Probably closest to Streets of Rage, because Streets of Rage is very 80s side-scrolling beat 'em up. And then from there, we came up with different characters, and we kind of started working on it on the side of work, and like going home and me just coming up with different bad guys and villains, and like I have a notebook that's just scribbled down with different characters and what they would look like and the bosses of the game and things like that. And it went as far as an extent to downloading an animation program and Brandon actually drawing out some sprites to see how the animation would actually look and if it would look good enough compared to some older side-scrolling beat-em-ups. So,
yeah. We even have the full game flow chart down from when you would initially put the first coin in, choose your character, and then go through the story, and then go to the endings, depending on which character you were.
Yeah, different endings. There are 4 characters you could choose from.
Right.
You had Magic Cop, who's, in the comic, and then, actually, they're all in the comic. So Magic Cop, Grey Wolf, his partner, and then Helly, who was, she's a witch who works on the workforce also, and then O'Hara, who we haven't showed anywhere yet, but he is another officer on the team. He's a giant, super ripped leprechaun.
He's an overgrown leprechaun, basically.
So yeah, those were the characters, and then I just had a blast making the boss characters, and it would go into the bosses have their own stages, so that's why we needed the flowchart to see how you would travel through the stages and fight the different bosses. And so when we decided to that wasn't taking off right away because we have other things to do for work, and Brandon and I were like, we should just make this into a comic because we have such a diverse cast of characters, and it's perfect for telling a story in this wacky way, and I thought it would be pretty popular.
And the 80s is really hot right now. Everybody is going for that throwback 80s theme, and since it just happened to be that 80s theme, it fit in, and figured it would now is the time to do it.
Yeah.
And I had started, we had the Silhouette back in 2010, 11, 12, but but that was not drawn. And I had been doing some drawing back then, but my drawing skills had leveled up a lot since then, and we figured that this would be a really good chance to see how well we could put a comic book together with Phil writing and myself doing the art. And so that's why we started off doing that. So I originally did a test page, which I don't think has ever actually made it out. And then we went and did that 12-page preview issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we were like, yeah, this is viable.
Yeah.
And
so we're doing the graphic novel now.
Right.
And like for influences, you could obviously see, and we even say that it's influenced by 80s television, specifically Miami Vice, and even some other shows as well, with some hidden characters that we threw into the concepts for the arcade game, and it was really easy to just pluck those boss characters that I created and just put them into the story. Or actually, the first boss that you would fight in the game would have been Madam Sith, and she's actually the first villain to show up in the Magic Cop graphic novel. And we've shown her off on the second chapter cover. Not fully, but she's like a Medusa type character. She runs the prostitution ring in the city, and works for the ferryman Bone Daddy-O, who's actually not like a big boss in the original concept of the game. He was probably, I think he was the first boss for the level. So
right, that was his level was going to be the classic, like you're on, what is it, like Battletoads with the hover bikes.
Like
it was going to be like that type of level. Where you were chasing his boat down. So yeah, but his character changed, in the comic book, so that he's a little bit more of a heavy now instead of just being a transitionary character.
So that's this graphic novel, he's the big bad guy of it.
Right.
Yeah. So,
which I think it works really well. He's a cool character, but it's kind of hard. It's kind of like having the Penguin as a bad guy in a video game. Like, what are you going to do? So. But he works really well in the comic book. So I think this is the best way to use him like that. So that was cool. But it's been a really fun process, like having the characters, being designed for the game, and then now having this whole kind of, it's always rough to, have this villains gallery, so that everybody has a really good villains gallery. Ours is kind of already done. We have 12 or more enemies that are already, conceptualized and have a backstory to them already. So, when Magic Cop comes out and we do subsequent books, we're all ready to roll with the next set of stories and stuff. So,
that's awesome. It's really cool to see, like, going from joking around, this would be a fun concept for a game, and then conceptualizing it and ultimately making it into a story and having people see it. It's really cool to get feedback on that. And I'm just having a blast with it. Like we said, the script's done, and we're just working on the interiors now. Getting out, like through our mailing list, getting out those colored covers. We just put one out today, which was last week's Ferryman cover. It's colored up, and I sent it out, and someone actually tweeted it out. Grabbed it from the email, tweeted it out, which is fine. So if you could actually hunt it down on Twitter, that's hilarious. But yeah, that's
good. People like it.
Yeah, people are excited about it, which is even more inspiring to make it happen. And yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about? It's the concept of the game, or in the game and the comic.
I don't know. I think that's something that people haven't heard yet. You guys haven't heard that it was originally. Well, we talked about it in some podcasts and stuff, but
talk about the story a little bit, like the main story,
the main general thing of what the whole thing's about. Yeah,
because this actually comes into play because I had to add more story to the characters, right? Because when it was just the arcade game, he's just Magic Cop. He didn't have a name. And in my mind, to make it a little bit more interesting, there's not only one Magikarp. So in our world of Magikarp, it's actually a title, and multiple people have had it and have it. So our Magikarp for Ambrosia City that we're dealing with is Ignatius Cromwell, and he comes from a long line of Magikarps, and that's how you get the title. It's through blood lineage, and his wand has been passed down through his family, and this is actually his first case he gets on when we see him in the story. He has just come to the department, and right off of walking off stage, graduating at the academy, he's been taking the mantle of a detective on our version of the Vice team, which is the Knights, and that stands for, it's an acronym for the department, what they deal with in that department. And so when he gets to the department, there's some detectives that have some animosity towards him because they think he just got a free ride to detective just because he's part of this family and is a Magikarp now. So he has to deal with the adversity of those people and learning to work with his new partner who's a wolf man, and he's kind of like ready to retire. Some rough stuff has happened to him in his life, and he doesn't really have the passion for the job anymore. And just this whole team aspect of, it's not only, even though the title is Magikarp, the book's not just about him. It's about how he works with his team and brings them together to make this team again. So yeah, that's basically the story of that. And the first case is, if you've seen our social media tweets and stuff like that, and a lot of mermaids on our covers, because the first case that they take up is the murder of this mermaid prostitute. And as they go deeper into it, they find out that Ferrymon is trafficking these mermaids into the city and then selling them into prostitution, basically. So yeah, that's the story.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really like how it has a lot of depth to it, but it is kind of as simple as a single episode of a TV show. Like when you watch Miami Vice, it is kind of like, it has its layers, but there's just that one story arc that's the overbearing story arc that's easy to follow.
Right, and I wanted to bring that up too. Is preparing for this, I and Brandon watched a lot of episodes of Miami Vice because, if people aren't familiar with the show, we're like, oh, it's a crime detective show in the 80s. They're like, oh, is that like a mystery? But Miami Vice episodes, they're not mysteries at all, and that's why this book is not a mystery. Like a mystery is like, oh, the person doesn't know, the detective or whoever doesn't know what's going on, and you need to give little hints to the reader so they can also figure it out along the way. That's not what this is. Like in each episode's Miami Vice, they usually know who the bad guy is pretty early on, and it's just the story of how they take that bad guy down.
Right.
And that's what this is very much like that. So Ferrymon, even from the beginning, you basically know he's the bad guy and what's going down, but it's the journey of them taking him down and how they get there, and things happen along the way, and hiccups and obstacles in there. So yeah, it's I tried to keep it like a Miami Vice story or like an 80s crime story, and weaving in those monsters and spooky creatures, making them normal through there.
And the concept was set up to be not a television show, but the comic book to read like a television show and be presented like a television show. So that's why we call the Karaoke Express issue the pilot episode, and this Drop Dead Legs is episode 1. There's the credits are all played differently and all that fun stuff too, to be set up kind of like a TV show.
And then we had to make a decision that you and I were talking about this, is because comic books, the medium of comics, is just about the only place where you have this heavy narration and inner monologue in any form of media. Like you get that in comics. Right. Sometimes you get that in movies, but very rarely there's a narrator to that. And we wanted, like, I didn't know if we wanted to go where we had that narration or not, but keeping it close to the television series where you have no narration, it's all, you know, exposition through dialogue. So we chose to keep it like that, so you don't hear what's going on in the character's head, and it's a very different way of writing than, you know, comic writers are used to. So, but we chose to do that, and I think it works out well.
Yeah, it's going to work out really well.
And it's going to read like different than a regular comic,
Right.
so
Right.
I think it'll stand out.
So if you guys want to check out Magic Cop, head over to zaidcomics.com and subscribe to the newsletter, and you'll be one of the first people to know when we launch in August, and you'll be able to snag yourself a copy and all of the other cool promotional swag that we're going to have with our campaign on there. So yeah, go to zaidcomics.com or go down into the description below, and you can find all of our social media handles on there, and you could follow us and see all kinds of cool updates, and you know, keep up on Magic Cop. And
yeah, definitely hit the like button and notifications if you're not always already subscribed. Subscribe down there. It really helps us out. And let us know what you think of the concept. Write a comment below. That helps us to gauge what you guys are thinking. So thanks for watching us, and we will see you later.